This video is going to look at how you can download fonts, use fonts, and just start thinking about fonts for your data visualization. So I am on dafont.com, which is my favorite place to download fonts. I really like how they have it organized, where I can look at different types of fonts. So if I wanted to search for, say, sans serif, I can click there. I can examine them, walk through, figure out what I like. So let's say that I really want to download this font. So I'm going to click download, and it's going to come into a zip file. So I'll double click that. And so in that file, I'm going to come up with an open type font. I also might come up with the true type font file. And to install it on my computer, I'm just going to double click. That's going to open my font book, and then I can click Install Font. Students can install fonts on any of the computers in the journalism school, but that font will only show up under your user profile. So let's say you use a computer in 101, you install your font. If then you use a computer at the Resource Center, it will not have that font. That's why it's important for you to learn how to package your InDesign documents. And I have a separate video on that, so check that one out. So now when we have our font installed, let's hop over to InDesign. So we're going to look at some basic font types. So let's look for our Bebas New. That is that font. And that is a sans serif font. And then we're going to look at a serif. So your Times is a serif font. Anything that has these little footers, that's a serif. Sans serif do not have the little feet. That's what serifs mean. So if we look through our font types, you can see how those are divided out. So a body is a sans serif, whereas Baskerville is a serif. So let's talk about some basic rules of font. First of all, if you are using the default font, I am going to assume that you don't care what things look like. Take a little time to pick the correct font to use and to think about how that relates to the other fonts on your page. Great tip for new users is if you have a new font or a new size of font, use a separate text box. Don't try to create text boxes that include fonts of different sizes, because what that's going to do is make your spacing do weird, horrible things. So, new size, new font equals a new text box. Show a little self-control while you are choosing fonts. No more than 2 or 3 per page. And I think 3 is stretching it a little bit. You should use text features to help separate information, to help highlight things to the reader. Let them know what they are getting into. So let's look at some text features. So I can make the first letter be a drop cap, put in subheads as a text feature, and I can do things like bullets as a text feature. Anything that has a different look to a font is a text feature. So that might be bolding, italicizing, slight change in size, adding bullets. Those are all text features that help your reader move across the page. Next thing you need to consider is using a hierarchy. So hierarchy means things at the bottom of the page should not be bigger than things at the top of the page. As you move down the page, your font should get smaller and less bold. Way to decide what size of fonts you should use. Generally speaking, for most body copy, you're going to want to be at 8 to 10 point for body copy. That means that any subheads would be double that, so 16 to 20. Double that for headlines, 34 to 40. So kind of look at that as taking things down by doubles or halves as you move across the page. If you are just completely insecure about fonts, you don't know what to use, they make you nervous, you're scared you're going to pick ugly things, a great tip is to stay within the same font family. So you can tell I've been using Railway for a lot of my fonts here. Other ones that might want to look at, Avenir has a lot of different options. Any font, even Times, has a lot of different font options, and picking within this family would make sure that my fonts work well together. Kind of related to this no more than 2 or 3 per page, you only want to choose one specialty font. So if I was going to use a script font here, that's it. I wouldn't want to go any other specialty fonts that could really start looking bad. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how you can download fonts, some general rules for you to think about as you build your data visualization.